How can a practice of mindfulness support metacognition and reading comprehension? You're going to learn how right now. Hi, everybody. I'm Lee Hall from Literacy Teachers, and I'm all about helping you inspire, motivate, and change how your students read and write for academic success. Today, we're going to be talking about the relationship between mindfulness and metacognition. If you're going to teach your students how to be metacognitive, being metacognitive requires them to become aware of their thinking. It's thinking about your thinking. So what role can mindfulness play in metacognition? Erin Silcox is here to tell you all you need to know.
So you want to teach metacognition? Well, metacognition is basically mindfulness while you're reading. And if we're talking about metacognition for reading comprehension, you're talking about being self-aware. So understanding the link between mindfulness and metacognition is the first step to being able to use mindfulness strategies to teach your students how to be metacognitive, and also to teach them to build in them the skills of metacognition, which are, as I mentioned, self-awareness, skills of self-awareness. So to get started, you want to consider how metacognition requires self-awareness and how you want to be aware of your own thought processes and the tiny choices that you make while reading, and the reality that being aware of how you're thinking is not natural for us. We glaze over everything. Especially in today's society, we rush through things. We aren't present in the moment. And to be metacognitive, you really need to be present, and you need to be paying attention to, as I'm reading this, I'm making decisions, and what decisions am I making and why? And that really requires us to slow down, at least at first. And mindfulness meditation teaches people not only to pay attention to their own minds and bodies, but it also can change. Actually, there are scientific studies that show that mindfulness meditation and other mindfulness activities can actually strengthen the areas in your brain that do pay attention while you're actively doing something. And the more mindfulness activities you can incorporate into your life and the lives of your students, the more your brains literally change, and you become better at paying attention to the little things that we tend to ignore. So what you need to know as a teacher is that something that I learned right away, and I carry through to today, is if you want your students to be mindful and to participate in mindfulness meditations and other mindful activities, you need to have a practice of your own. And it's hard to articulate exactly why, but it's almost like you don't want to hold up a double standard and say, okay, you need to do this because it's really good for you, but I'm not going to do it because I don't need to. First of all, everybody needs to meditate, or at least we can all benefit from it. But the idea here is you're starting to understand some of the things that are necessary to make mindfulness successful, and also taking up a practice of your own really builds, I think, humility, and it builds the understanding that meditation isn't easy, and you need to understand that intrinsically so that you can support your students and provide them with strategies that have worked for you, to be patient with yourself and to understand the process that we go through as we really are kind of rewiring our brains, to pay more attention to our bodies and our thoughts. So you're going to start by just starting your own guided meditation practice. And I say start your own guided meditation practice because it takes the guesswork out of it. I would not recommend necessarily doing a walking meditation right away. I wouldn't recommend doing an eating meditation right away. I would recommend finding a guided meditation that focuses on touch points and body scans. And that's because a lot of guided meditations ask you to pay attention to your breath. And for me, and for a lot of my students, that's something that is really pretty vague and abstract, believe it or not, and easy to lose track of. And so when you use touch points or body scans, whoever's guiding the meditation pays attention to and sort of like will chime back in when necessary, when, sort of before you get lost in your own thoughts. And you can actually feel parts of your body, in my opinion, easier than you can feel your breath, and pay attention to parts of your body better than you can pay attention to your breaths. And then what you can do to bring it into your classroom once you have your own practice is to find guided meditation apps and scripts and YouTube videos, but also meditative activities and mindful activities that might include what I was talking about before, like walking meditations and food meditations, where they look at the Hershey Kiss and they smell it, and then they finally put it in their mouth, but they don't chew it, and they taste it, and then they can compare that to what it's like eating a Hershey Kiss without paying attention to it. And then you can start to connect those activities with being metacognitive, and the difference between paying attention while you're reading and sort of just reading and then totally losing track of what's happening. And really start small. Include brief reflections following each meditation or activity, and be patient with yourself and your students. And also, I would recommend not forcing it. Let them do it if they're comfortable with it. And this is the type of thing where it's kind of an elective. You can't force somebody to do a meditation, if you think about it. So don't get into power struggles. Let it be a relaxing activity. Bring in, Google it. You'll find a million ways to make meditation interesting and fun for kids of all ages. So if you like this video, click here for the next video, and we'll see you soon.